Welcome back to lesson number 2 with Mr. Biza in 7th grade math. All right, so when you log into your Nearpod, this should be the first slide you see. Then we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide, talk about those norms. So when we are in class, our microphones are off, our cameras are on. If we have questions, we post it in the chat so we don't interrupt the teacher or our friends that are learning. And the last one is participate and have fun. This is a math class. I know sometimes the work can be tedious, but let's try to have some fun with it. I know I want to bring up that energy level so we're not just all bored and tired and feeling so sleepy by the end of the lesson. So let's try to have some fun with it. This is the mood meter. So we did this in the last lesson, so I want to talk about it again. Make sure we understand it as we move forward. Remember, the mood meter is designed to help us learn to recognize emotions in ourselves and in others. It provides us with a language to talk about our feelings. And when we know our feelings, we can better communicate our feelings. The different colors are green, which represents a low level energy, but still in a positive energy, right? So I'm feeling content, I'm feeling fulfilled, I'm feeling grateful. So really good feelings, but I don't have a lot of extra energy to want to go too wild. The yellow, though, this represents a high energy and a very positive energy. So I'm ecstatic, I'm motivated, I'm upbeat, I am ready to learn, and I'm feeling really good today. So yellows are those high energy, positive kind of people. Green is just positive, but we don't have that really high energy. So the next one over here would be in the red. In the red means you're enraged, furious, frustrated. You have those high energies, but they're negative energies. Okay? So things can set us off and put us in the red. Hopefully, when we're working in that class, if we come in the red, after you've been in this class, I get to move you down, guys, somewhere into the green, calm you down, make you feel at ease. That's my goal. And then the last one, again, in the blue, represents something like disgust, or you're feeling disappointed, or you could feel down here bored or tired. Blue is a low level energy, and it's not a very good energy, a negative energy. So sometimes we might have days where we're feeling a little bit lethargic or where we don't want to do anything. We're feeling pretty glum and mopey. It's really good for me to know as we work on those lessons to know how you are feeling so that one, you can express those feelings in your Nearpod, and two, that it helps me understand how you're feeling as we work on the lesson. All right? So let's go ahead and now what I would want you to do on the next slide, you're going to draw a dot on the mood meter that best represents your feeling. So just circle one answer or one word that defines how you're feeling today. And then after that, we'll go ahead and write a short answer on why you feel that way. So for me, I'm recording this, so I'm feeling really energized. I'm in the yellow right now. I'm feeling lively. I'm feeling optimistic, but the word energized just really calls out to me. So I'm going to go ahead and circle that one definition, even though I may feel all these other feelings. I might even feel some other feelings in the other colors, but this one is the best represents me right now. On the next slide now is our open-ended question. We're just going to say, why do we feel that way? I'm feeling in the yellow today because I'm recording a live lesson or a pre-recorded lesson. I am pre-recording. Pre-recording my lessons. Sure, there we go. That looks good to me. And then I would click the little blue button that's usually down here, but since I'm in teacher mode, I don't have that blue button to submit it. All right? And then you would see the little blue check mark saying that you submitted it. It should kind of show up. There we go. You saw that little split second. This is your attendance. It lets me know which class you're in. It lets me know if you did this. So you would click on you making it up. You would click whatever period in. So I'm in second period recording this. And then your first name, last name, and your student ID. All right? So go ahead and fill that out. If you need to put pause while you fill it out, put pause as I go on or before I go on to the next slide. 3, 2, 1. All right, so this is where we are going to basically start our lesson. We do record on some of our classes to make sure that we are able to work it out and show people, not anyone, but show any of our classmates what we were doing in the other classes. I am pre-recording this, so this is probably not too much of an issue in the classroom. I don't present those videos to anybody but myself to help me learn from what I did in the lesson and show anyone in our administration and instruction. Our first unit is still operations with rational numbers, putting things in order, figuring out how to use them. So that is unit number 1 that we are still continuing in our second lesson. Materials that you need are a composite notebook where we kept our notes from last period, our writing utensil to write down those notes, your Chromebook or some type of device, a computer or a Chromebook are my top suggestions. It's going to be very difficult to work on this on a phone or a tablet because you're really going to want to use a mouse and a keyboard. So I highly suggest a Chromebook or a computer to work on these lessons. We do not need an Inspire calculator for 7th grade. This will only be for our 8th graders or academy kids who are following a different curriculum. So we do not have to worry about the Inspire. So let's go on to the next slide. Now we open up with a warm-up. So write this number as a decimal, and problem number 2, we're going to write this percent using this model. So I would click on the little picture up here to make it big. So you're answering problem number 1, write it as a decimal, answering problem number 2, and write this as a percent. When you want to turn a fraction into a decimal, the strategy that I use is that looks kind of like a division symbol, right? There's supposed to be a dot on top and a dot on bottom. So to change a fraction to a decimal, I'm going to use division. You can do 28 and then divide it by 40. Or there's some other simplification tools you may have learned in 6th grade or 5th grade. You can also feel free to use those to help you find that decimal. On the second one, we want to turn this into a percent. The word percent means per means out of, and cent means 100 if we go back to that old language. So we want to know how many are shaded out of 100. So you're going to go ahead and go in here, put your answer. So I will put 1 and then type in my answer, and then put 2 and then type in my answer. All right, so go ahead and take some time. You can put pause and work on these problems. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. In this objective, we'll be able to add integers fluently with and without models. We'll also be able to subtract integers fluently with or without models. All right, so we're covering 2 different topics in one lesson, adding and subtracting those integers. Next slide. So this is a fun little video. We have toy soldiers. Some are positive, some are negative, and you can see how they work when we're adding positive and negative numbers. All right, so go ahead and push play on the video. Pause this video that we're watching and push play on that Nearpod, and then you can unpause this video when you come back. All right, so let me give you some time to go ahead and push pause. 3, 2, 1, and you guys should be back. So let's go to the next slide. All right, time to take out our journals and write down some notes, reminders on how to do our adding and subtracting when we're working with these integers. So let me go ahead and grab my notebook. And I want to write down these notes. I have the wrong notebook. Let me grab my notebook from yesterday. All right, so our operations for adding and subtracting. So for adding and subtracting, there are 3 basic rules we want to follow. So I have my notebook out. Let's go ahead and open up my document camera. I would want to cover it so we can kind of catch up, but I want you to see as we do step by step what it looks like. I'm trying to get the best angle for you guys. There we go. I think that's maybe a little bit better. Hey, there we go. So our operations, we're adding numbers. So whenever I'm adding numbers, I want to make sure that if they are the same sign, that we're going to add. If they are different signs, we're going to subtract. And we want to keep the signs with the greatest value, okay? So if I'm adding 2 numbers, let's say I have a positive number, so 1 plus 1, those are both a positive 1 and a positive 1, that would equal a positive 2. Or if I had a negative 1 and a negative 1, since they were both negative, it would be a negative 2. So those numbers, if they're positive, they just become more positive. If they're negative, they just become more negative. Now, this is the big one. If they're different signs, then we're going to subtract them. So look at this example. I have 3 plus a negative 9. So I'm looking at them and I say, whoa, that's a positive number. That's a negative number. How am I going to solve this problem? So ignore the answer that's already there. Okay, we're going to get there anyway. So how do I solve this problem? Well, to do it, we want to subtract them. How I write it is I circle the one that's bigger. And I'm talking about just looking at the number. I'm ignoring the negative. I know my positive is actually has greater value. So when it says the absolute value, that means I'm just looking at my numeral, the number that's in there. So I'm looking at the number 9, not just all of the negative 9. And I'm looking at just the 3 and not as a positive 3. Okay, so which one is bigger? Well, 9 has got a bigger value when we're talking about a numeral for absolute value. So I'm going to go ahead and circle the negative 9 because I know its absolute value is bigger than 3. So since I know that this one's bigger, I'm going to do my subtraction problem and do 9 minus 3. I'm ignoring which one is negative, which one is positive. I'm just going to subtract. So 9 minus 3 equals 6. Okay, so then I can write my answer over here, 6. But then you might be asking, Mr. Baiza, why did you write a negative there? Well, it says keep the sign that has the greatest value. And remember, we circled the one that was bigger. And that's a negative number. So that means my answer is going to be negative. Okay, so if my positive had been bigger and I ended up circling my positive, that means my answer would have been positive. Okay, because I had negative 9, I had more negatives than I had positives. So that's why I always want to circle the bigger one, the one that has the greater absolute value. Okay, when I say bigger, I'm talking about greatest absolute value. I'm not saying which one actually is bigger because a positive number is bigger than a negative. So I'm just looking at the numbers. Okay, the 9, the 3. I'm going to kind of ignore that negative for now whenever I'm doing addition. All right, so now I want you to try doing 7 plus a negative 4. It's really good to do it in your journal so you get that little practice to see it. Okay, so you would match the same steps I did over here as you would do on your journal. Okay, so go ahead and maybe we want to put pause and work out this problem. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's go ahead and continue now with our subtraction rules. So when I'm subtracting numbers, adding is pretty easy and straightforward. But when I'm subtracting, I hate subtracting. It is so difficult. So I just want to straight up change my problem to an addition problem. So I'm pretty sure you guys have done keep change opposite before when you're working with fractions. Well, I can use that for subtraction too because I don't want to do subtraction. I want to do addition. So I keep the first number, I change it to addition, and then I'm going to do the opposite. So if it was a positive number, I change it to a negative. If it was a negative number, I change it to a positive. So look at our example we have here. I have 3 minus a negative 9. So I'm going to keep the first number, keep it at 3. I don't want to do subtraction, so I'm going to change it to addition. And we had a negative 9, so now it becomes a positive 9. So I rewrote my problem as an addition problem, and hey, look at that. 3 plus 9 equals 12. Really simple for me to do that problem compared to 3 minus a negative 9. I have to, okay, well, negative. If I take away a negative, that's like saying, it's like I'm adding. Okay, so now I can do it. Okay, so I don't have to worry about those negatives tripping me up. I'm just going to rewrite it and give me my answer. Now your time. Go ahead and write this down. Very similar, but now instead of adding a negative 4, I'm going to go ahead and subtract a negative 4. Let's see how that changes this problem. 7 minus a negative 4. So go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and solve this problem. All right, let's get back into 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to put my journal to the side and go back to my Nearpod. So come on, let's go. Nearpod, here we are. We wrote those down. So let's go ahead and check how we are doing these problems. So you can go ahead and push play on this video. She's just gonna go over the rules again. I really like the way these videos kind of wrap and kind of really explain those steps. So you can put pause on your Nearpod. I'm sorry, pause on this video and push play on the Nearpod and watch this video. All right, so let me go give you some time to go ahead and do that. And we're back in 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's go to the next slide. This is another video, but this time he's using a number line to help it explain our subtraction. So you can go ahead and watch this video as well. If you want to continue on with our Nearpod, you can continue. But let me go ahead and give you some time to put pause on our video and watch the Nearpod. So let me go ahead and give you some time. So 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's go ahead and keep on moving on with this Nearpod. On the next slide on Nearpod, I want you guys to go ahead and draw those squares, and then you're going to cross them out. So I want you to do it for all of these problems. Let me go ahead and work out a couple of these problems so you can get an idea of how to do it, and then you can work on the even numbers, the ones on this side. All right, so you would end up going to the next slide, which is a draw it. So now I have the tools to draw down here or write down my numbers. So if I look up here, they already did this example for us. They did 7 plus a negative 4. So they drew the 7 positive numbers. They drew the negative 4. Using these models, I can now see, oh, I can cancel them out. So let me make my marker a little bit smaller so I'm not writing everywhere. These two, positive and negative, they cancel each other out, so they're going to go away. These two positive, they're going to cancel each other out. Positive and negative, they cancel out. Positive and negative, they cancel each other out. So now I'm just left with these positive numbers, 1, 2, 3. So my answer right here is a positive 3. I can do the same thing over here. I'm going to go ahead and use a marker because I'm not going to draw perfect squares using my mouse and keyboard. So I'm going to choose, let's go with blue. I'm pretty sure this is a blue, and I'm going to use my highlighter. Nice big mark, and I'm going to make my mark. So for positive numbers, I have, oh, actually, looking at this is a subtraction problem. I don't like subtraction problems. I don't even want to do this problem. If it's a subtraction problem, I'm going to rewrite it. Okay, so I push the text box, and I'm going to rewrite this. So I use my rules, keep, change, and opposite. So I keep the 4. I'm going to change it to a plus. And that was a positive 6 over here. So I'm going to change it to a negative 6. Uh-oh, what did I just do? Oh, I pushed the back arrow when I was writing. All right, so I'm going to use, again, these go away. And we're left with just 3 positive. My text options are right here. I'm going to do keep, change to plus, and then my positive 6 is now a negative 6. And I'm trying to figure out what does that equal. Okay, so now I can draw my models. I'm going to use a marker, and I'm going to make it really big for the blue. So my positive numbers are, there's 4 positives, so I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for my negatives, let's use what color is this? It's orange or red? Okay, red. Yeah, they're pretty contrasting. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so now I have my positives and I have my negatives. So these ones up here were my positives, and these are my negatives. Okay, so now I can go ahead and cancel them out, right? If I have a positive and negative, they just equal 0. So those go to 0. Those go away to 0, 0, 0 them out. And now I'm left with these 2 red ones, and we said these 2 were negative. So my final answer would be a negative 2. Okay, there you go. It looks like I left a stray mark on my work over here. So we're going to ignore that. But I'm looking at that one. I have a negative 4 plus a negative 2. Yay, it's a plus. So I can just keep it. So I'm going to use the red for my negatives. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it said plus 2 negatives, so 1, 2. Oh, so I'm just adding more negatives. So now I have all these negatives. I'm adding them together, so I really have a bunch of negatives. 4 plus 2 more negatives makes 6 negatives, so this answer will be a negative 6. All right, so there you go. I have all my answers for my odd numbers. Now I want you to work out and solve these ones. You do not have to write this. I wrote this for you guys, so you can just use just answer this side. You don't have to mark anything on the left. All right, so go ahead and take some time to answer number 10, 12, and 14. All right, so you can put pause on my video and work those out. Give you some time to complete it, and we'll get back at it at 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. Make sure you put submit before we go to the next slide. I know my teacher one doesn't have submit, but yours does. Now it's time to practice. Dun, dun, dun. So to practice, I have all these problems that you can work out. All right, so in this, I think you can write them out. Okay, no, we're going to go ahead and write these in our notes. I would say work on just half of them. work on, let's see, which side I think is better. Oh, I think odd numbers are better because you did evens on the last one. So let's work on the odds. So go ahead and work on number 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. So these ones are adding, these ones are subtracting, and use your notes to solve them, okay? So take some time to work on these if you want. And then we'll get back at it. And 3, 2, 1. All right, so if you're coming back from pausing it, we're ready for the next slide. I'm gonna say no to this activity. This is something I would work on if we were in a class together because it's kind of hard to follow without me there. If you want to go ahead and try it on your own, you are feel free to go ahead and open that webpage and work on these problems. But I suggest that we do not go. So on our Nearpod, I'm actually not going to click on it and go to the next slide. So we're looking back at this. So we're just doing, again, a check for understanding. What were the things that we wrote? So you wrote it in your notes. So now I want you to go ahead and go back to your notes and refresh yourself. What did we do on these assignments when we were organizing them? All right, so let's go to the next slide. Now it's time for our quiz. So we're adding and subtracting. All right, so a positive 6 minus a negative 7. Which one of these is the correct answer? Number 2, 6 plus a negative 7. Do the math. Which is the correct answer? A negative 6 plus a negative 7. Go ahead and solve it and choose the correct answer. Negative 6 minus a negative 7. Work it out and pick the right answer. Number 5 is 13 plus negative 4. Think it closely. Think about it. Think about it. Be careful and choose the right answer. Number 6, negative 13 plus a negative 4. Looks like those are two negatives. Go ahead and work it out and pick the right answer. Negative 13 minus a negative 4. Ooh, two negatives. But that minus right there. Grrr. All right, work it out. Make sure you're following those rules in your notes to help you get the correct answer. Number 8, 13 minus a negative 4. One of these is correct. Which one is it? You decide. Number 9 says 3 plus a negative 5. All right, so maybe easier numbers to work with. Maybe I could even draw a picture to help me. But it's up to you to make sure you get it right. Next slide. So we are done with our quiz. Make sure, let me go back real quick. Make sure that you guys put submit on this quiz. So you would have a little button down here that said submit. I don't because I'm in the teacher mode. So make sure you, after you are done, that you click that submit so it turns it in. All right. Well, let me just skip the quiz because we just went through it. Our demonstration of learning, I actually put the wrong one. So it's just like we did at the very beginning. We're able to add and subtract fluently. That is the end of our lesson. So I would end my recording here. And now we could go to our Google Classroom and complete our exit ticket. All right. So you go to Google Classroom, open up the classwork, and it's going to be lesson number 2, exit ticket. Not day 2. I believe I changed them all to lesson number 2 because we're going at different places, at different paces for different classes. So lesson number 2, exit ticket. Go ahead and now log into your classroom and work on that. But as for our Nearpod, you're all done, and I hope to see you guys later in the classroom. Bye-bye.